Hello everyone, Tina here. I am back with another project using some Spellbinders clubs. I hope your day is going wonderful. Thanks for joining me once more. Today we're going to jump in and create a couple of cards using the Spellbinders Clear Stamp and Die of the Month Club Kit. This month it's called My Forever Person. Has a couple of real pretty florally, well, this one's a florally heart. This one has a sentiment on here that says to my forever person. It's real cute. And then the love has some florals inside of it. We're also going to be using the embossing folder of the month club kit. It's called Heart Blooms. It has some like geometric heart shapes on here. Really pretty. We're going to be using this and this on both of our cards today. We're going to start off by doing a little bit of first, we're going to trim down some cardstock. I picked 4 colors that I thought were unique colors, but I think they work really well together. I have, this is the brand new Dune. Well, it's not brand new. It's been out for a little while, but it's the Dune cardstock. And then I have Waterfall. I have Timber, which is a dark brown. And then I have the green. I probably use this most often of all the green colors of the Spellbinders Color Essential cardstocks. This is Peridot. I think this makes a great color palette, so that's what we're going to use on our card today. These are A2 panels, so they're 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And I'm going to use my paper trimmer, just using 2 at a time. And I'm going to trim down some strips. And I'm going to trim them down a little, just a tad over 1 1/4 inch strips. And I'm going to do that to both of them. This is good. This is going to fill in a panel that we're going to create. We'll line these up. Okay, and then with the leftover pieces, I'm going to bring in my stamping positioner. We're going to keep these, but we're going to bring in the stamping positioner, and we're going to heat emboss. We'll start with the brown first. I'm going to heat emboss this large floral heart. It's really pretty. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see better. And I'm going to treat my paper with my anti-static powder tool. And we're going to do a little heat embossing with some watermark ink and a white embossing powder. We're just going to go over our image here. And we'll stamp it. Wonderful. And then using some white embossing powder, I'm going to go over my image. Now what I'm doing now, I'm going to do to all of the color cardstocks that we have left over. But I'm just going to show you what we're going to do with one to save a little bit of time. I'm just using white embossing powder. I'll use my heat gun and we'll melt it. Okay, my image is all melted, and I love the contrast of the florals heat embossed on darker cardstock. I just think it's so pretty. Okay, I'm keeping this out because, again, we're going to be using these 3 panels and doing the exact same thing. I'm going to let this cool down just a little bit, wipe away the excess powder that we use with our powder tool, and then I'm going to go ahead and bring in my Prismacolor pencils. And out of all of these pencils, the white is what I use the most. And I think you can buy a Prismacolor pencil singly just for the white. If I can find it, I'll link it down below. But I'm sure one pencil is pretty inexpensive. But all I'm going to do with this is just go over all of my florals with the white pencil. Just lightly going over it, and then filling in all of the leaf areas and the flower areas. And I just love the look of this. It's very easy to do, and I'm not adding very much pressure over these images either. Just continuing on over the beautiful floral pattern. And I'm just finishing up, almost done. Oh, I forgot a few ones over here. You may need to sharpen your pencil in between for the smaller areas. but I love the way this looks. I just think this looks so elegant. Get rid of some of that powder. Now I'm going to do this same thing with the other colored cardstock, along with taking the coordinating die. We'll just line this up and we will die cut this out. Okay, I finished up all of my images here. And I love the way they look. These are all done. Really pretty. I'm going to put these off to the side and we're going to do a little bit more heat embossing. I'm going to clean off this floral, and then in our stamp set there is another heart, but this one has a sentiment on it. For this one I'm going to bring in some black cardstock. Put this in here. And while we're at it, on the black, I'm going to stamp one of my sentiments. And I like the one that says, I love your big heart. I'm going to stamp this, and I'll end up blocking this off and die cutting this out. I'm going to treat my paper with my anti-static powder tool. We're going to go over this with our watermark ink. And then using white embossing powder, I'm going to go over this too. And I went over the florals here, you can see. And then I'm going to take my coordinating die here. We're going to die cut this out. And then I will block off the sentiment that says, I love your big heart. Now while we're die cutting, I'm also going to take a piece of vellum, and using the large heart in our die set, I'm going to die cut my heart out. I think I can get two in here. I'm going to die cut out 2 vellum hearts along with my die cutting. I'll be right back. I ran my vellum through, so I have some vellum hearts. And then I also die cut out, using the smaller die that we use for this, a small white heart. And then I blocked off my sentiment here. We're going to put these off to the side, keep this one, and then I have 2 card front panels. Let me make a little room here. Now we need to do some embossing. This panel here measures 4 inches by 5 1/4, so it's a 1/4 inch smaller than my card base. We're going to emboss that panel with our embossing folder. And again, this one here is called the heart blooms emboss, and I'm just making sure it's centered. And then I'm also going to emboss this heart here. And then on this panel, this is 1/2 inch smaller than my card base, so it measures 3 3/4 inches wide by 5 inches tall. And that's where these strips are going to come in. I'm going to go ahead and take my paper trimmer and trim these off so that they are 3 3/4 inches. Okay. And then using my tape runner, I'm going to adhere these on this panel here. We'll start with our green. I'm overlapping it just a little bit to make sure that they all fit on here. And I can always adjust. And then I'll take green's Peridot, we'll take Waterfall and put this right next to it. And then I'll take our Dune. We're going to adhere this. And then I'll take my Timber. This is going to go on the bottom. So we have a striped panel, and then I'm going to emboss this panel also. I'm going to run these through my die cut machine, emboss these, and then I'll put this in here, and I'm going to emboss this panel also. So when I'm done with my embossing, I will be right back. Now I have everything embossed. It's such a pretty pattern. And then I have my little heart, just for a little extra texture. And then I have our background. Really pretty. I love the texture that this adds. Now we're going to create a couple really easy cards. First we're going to take an A2 size card base, and we'll do our background panel first. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to my card base. Wonderful. For this card, we're going to use our To My Forever person. I just love that. I'm going to use my tape runner, add some adhesive behind it, and we're going to tack this down to our vellum heart right in the middle. And then I'm going to flip this over. We're going to bring in some foam squares. And I'm just adding foam squares behind the black heart. This way you can't see it. And I'm going to place this in the middle here, evenly spacing it left to right. Kind of a really simple card. And then after I have this done, I'm going to bring in my glazing glue. And I'm going to go over just the flowers on my chalkboard looking sentiment here. And I'm just going to add a little bit to give a little shine and dimension. And I'm going to go over the leaves also. I wasn't going to at first, but I think I'm going to go over the leaves too. And then to finish off this card, we're going to keep it real simple and clean. I'm using the Spellbinders Color Essential Gems. This is the silver mix. The silver mix has silver, and then it also has some clear. And I'm going to use the clear ones. And while my glaze and glue is still wet, I'm going to put in some gems right in the middle of that glaze and glue. This way these aren't going anywhere. And then the smaller flowers, I'll use the smallest gems. This way when the glaze and glue dries, those gems are not going to go anywhere. Not that I've had a problem with them going anywhere, but just a few little sparkles. Okay, so that finishes my first card. Kind of a clean and simple card. It may be kind of a masculine card too. This would be great for a gentleman. Okay, now for the second card, we're going to bring in our embossed panel here. And then using, we'll zoom back out, using the hearts that we embossed and colored in with our white pencil, we are going to arrange these in a pattern like so on our panel. And I'm just going to use my tape runner to adhere these. Now this is going to, I think you can still see the integrity of the heart, but we are going to be trimming this off. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and add some adhesive. And I think that looks good. Now what we're going to do is, before we trim it off on this panel, I'm going to adhere this to my card base. And again, we're using an A2 size card base. And we're going to add some adhesive on the reverse side here. Place this in the middle. Press it down really good. And then I'm going to use my scissors and we're going to trim away the excess directly on our card base. After we have this done, we have the embossed heart that we created and our vellum heart. I'm going to take some foam squares and we're going to pop this up on our vellum. So, and then I'm going to flip this around And we're going to add some adhesive behind here. And we're going to tack this down right in the middle of these hearts. And then I'm going to use a strip of foam tape. I'm going to remove the release paper, and we're going to add our sentiment right in the middle. Like so. And then I'm bringing back those silver color essential gems, and we're going to fill in some of the flower centers on our heat embossed hearts. And then I think that looks good. Just a subtle amount of sparkle. But when the light hits it, I think it's really pretty. And then that will finish off card number 2. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope this gives you some ideas on how to use the Spellbinders Embossing Folder of the Month Club Kit, and also the Clear Stamp and Die of the Month Club Kit. Thanks for joining me. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you soon.